Have you ever just stared at something like a car engine or a factory robot and thought, how on earth does that even work? All those moving parts can feel super complicated, almost impossible to understand. But what if I told you that every single machine, no matter how complex, is actually built from just a handful of really simple ideas? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and unlock the world of machines. We're going to see how they really work from the inside out. So let's kick things off with a little puzzle. What's the real difference between a skyscraper and a car engine? I mean, they're both amazing pieces of engineering, right? But one is designed to stay perfectly still, to fight against motion. The other one, well, its entire job is to create motion. And that single idea, that difference, is where our whole story begins. Here's our game plan for piecing this all together. First, we're going to look at what I call the DNA of machines, the absolute basic building blocks. Then we'll see how they connect in chains of motion. After that, we'll figure out how to get them moving with the power express. And finally, we'll see how an idea becomes a real machine in blueprint to reality. So let's jump right in. All right, section 1, the DNA of machines. You know, it's like any language. Before you can write a story, you got to learn the alphabet. So let's get down to the basic vocabulary that engineers use to talk about and build every machine you've ever seen. So, what even is a machine officially? Well, in the simplest terms, it's just something that takes energy, messes with it a bit, and then uses it to do something useful. Think about a power drill. It takes electrical energy from the wall, turns it into spinning energy, and uses that to make a hole. It's an active device. It's always doing something. And this right here is the answer to our first question. A machine has parts that move in relation to each other. They work together to turn energy into action, like a piston pumping inside a cylinder. A structure, though, is the total opposite. Its parts are meant to stay put. Their whole job is to carry loads and not move, like that skyscraper. Okay, so if machines are all about moving parts, what's the most basic, fundamental part of all? It's this thing called a link. And honestly, the best way to think about a link is like a single Lego brick in the world of engineering. It's just a solid piece that's designed to connect to other pieces and to move. So how do we snap these Lego bricks together? We use something called a kinematic pair. I know, it's a fancy term, but it just means a joint that only allows a very specific kind of movement. Think about a door hinge. It only lets the door swing, right? Or a drawer on its sliders. It only lets it move in and out. These pairs are all about controlling the motion. So now we have our building blocks, our links and pairs. But, a pile of Legos is just a pile of plastic. It's not a spaceship yet. That brings us to section 2, chains of motion. This is where we see how these simple parts come together to create the predictable, useful movement that makes a machine, well, a machine. Now, when you connect a whole series of these links and pairs into a closed loop, you get what's called a kinematic chain. A bicycle chain is the perfect example that comes to mind. You move just one link, and the entire chain has to move in a perfectly predictable way. There's no guesswork at all. The motion is literally baked into the design. Now, pay attention, because this is where the magic really happens. We take that floating kinematic chain, and we do just one simple thing. We fix one of its links. We nail it down, anchor it to something that doesn't move. The second we do that, everything changes. It's not just a chain anymore. It becomes a mechanism, a real device that can actually do work. And this leads us to a really cool question that uncovers a super powerful engineering secret. You've got this chain of, say, 4 links. You made a mechanism by fixing the first one. Okay, cool. But what if you unbolted that one and instead you decided to fix link number 2? The answer is this brilliant idea called inversion. And it's basically a design superpower. It means you can get totally different machines from the exact same set of parts, just by changing which part you decide to hold still. I mean, think about how incredibly efficient that is. The same few components can do a whole bunch of different jobs. And trust me, this is not just some theory from a textbook. Take this simple slider crank chain. It's the heart of pretty much any piston engine. Just by inverting it, by fixing different parts, engineers have created everything from simple water pumps to the legendary Gnome rotary engines that powered fighter planes in World War I. The same basic parts, just rearranged to do completely different things. That is the power of inversion. Okay, so we figured out how to create controlled motion. Awesome. But that motion is pretty useless without some muscle behind it. So how do we get the energy from, say, a motor to the parts that are actually doing the work? That's what we're going to dig into in section 3, the power express. So you've got three main tools in your toolbox for this: gears, belts, and chains. And this table gives us a really quick breakdown. Need to send power over a pretty long distance? A belt drive is probably your best bet. Need to transmit a massive amount of power or torque with absolute precision? You're going to want gears. And chains? They're a great middle ground when you need that exact speed ratio, but the gears are just too far apart. Let's just zoom in on gears for a second, because these things are the absolute workhorses of the mechanical world. Their superpower is precision. With gears, there's no slip, no slack, nothing. That precision, combined with their ability to handle huge amounts of power in a tiny little space, is why you find them in everything from the guts of a wristwatch to the transmission of a Formula One race car. So we have the parts, we have the motion, and we have the power. We've got all the ingredients. But how do you actually go from a blank piece of paper to a real working machine? Well, that brings us to our final section, Blueprint to Reality, where we look at the design process itself. You know, great design isn't just some random flash of inspiration. It's a very disciplined process. It all starts with the specs. What problem are we actually trying to solve here? From there, you pick the right mechanism for the job, you create a general layout, then you design every single component down to the last nut and bolt, and finally, you prepare the detailed drawings so it can actually be built. But this process used to have a huge flaw. It was all done in sequence, which led to this classic and very frustrating scenario. The designer, working all alone, cooks up this brilliant but super complex design, and then just throws it over the wall to the manufacturing team. And the response is almost always, yeah, we can't actually make this. And this is really the old way versus the new way. On the left, you've got that super inefficient over-the-wall method. On the right, you have the modern approach. It's called concurrent design. And the idea is so simple, but it's revolutionary. Instead of everybody working in their own little bubble, you get everyone, designers, manufacturers, everyone, in the same room from day one. The benefit here is just massive. When you collaborate early, all those potential manufacturing headaches get solved before they become expensive redesigns down the line. The whole process just gets streamlined, and it dramatically cuts down the time it takes to get a new product from an idea in someone's head to an actual thing you can buy. So let's boil this all down. If you remember just 4 things from our chat today, make it these. First, all machines, every single one, are built from simple links and pairs. Second, that clever trick of inversion lets you get a ton of different machines from just one set of parts. Third, gears, belts, and chains are how you get the power where it needs to go. And finally, the best machines today are built by teams, all working together from the very beginning. So there you have it. We've gone from a single little link all the way to the entire modern design process. You now speak the fundamental language of machines. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Now that you know the building blocks, as you look at the world around you, what's an everyday problem you could solve with a mechanism of your own? What would you build? Thanks for tuning in.